I had an amazing reading month. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and today I wanted to chat about all the books I read in September. I actually read like 5 books this month. Who is she? We don't know. And I am just so excited to talk about them because I actually read quite a few really good ones. So I wanted to quickly talk about them and kind of give you my thoughts, my feels. So let's do this. The first book that I finished in September was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I really enjoyed this. I was a little nervous going in because I've never quite read an adult, like, paranormal thriller kind of deal, and this was my first step into it, and it was pretty spooky. This is the story about Maggie, who, after her father passes away, inherits this old house that they used to live in, and they only lived there for like a month or so, and her father actually wrote a book, like a best-selling book, based on their time there. And because of that book, Maggie is known for being in the book and being kind of like the main character of this true ghost story, even though she remembers nothing from that time. So once she inherits the house, she decides that she's going to renovate it and sell it to just get it out of her life and be done with it. But when she starts staying at the house, things begin to happen that are very reminiscent to the story that her father wrote. I really enjoyed this. It was definitely spooky. It had the atmosphere I was wanting with the haunted house mixed with the mystery of what was happening. I really enjoyed Maggie as a character. She's very surface level, like get to know basis, but again, that could just be because of the genre. I wasn't like super invested in her, but enough to be concerned about her well-being. In this book, we get Maggie's perspective at the current time, and then we get like parts of her dad's book that he wrote, and so we get to read his perspective of what happened. So we get to see parallels between the two timelines, and it was really interesting. Some of the things that happened were very spooky, had me on the edge of my seat, and I was a little sweaty, which is a good thing, I feel. I really liked the house and the history it had. I really enjoyed just all the characters that came into play later on, and it all tied up relatively nicely in the end. It definitely threw me for a loop that I was not expecting. I will say that there was like a couple things that were not actually fully explained, which if you've read the book you know, but if you haven't, then I really can't say much. So it kind of bummed me out a little bit because like you want to have that, you know, there's real ghosts in this house kind of belief, but then the other things happen and you're like, well, hold on a second. So it was really good, but there was just like a couple things I was like, huh, okay, well, that wasn't explained, but you know what, I'm gonna pretend that that didn't happen. I don't know what I'm trying to say without spoiling everything. What I'm trying to get at is go read this. It's a perfect Halloween book, and I really enjoyed it and wasn't too terribly scary. However, I will say that there is snakes in this book, which is pretty terrifying. I don't mind snakes from a distance. Like if I'm at the zoo and I'm looking at snakes, cool, you're great, you're behind glass, love it. You get near me or in my house, nope, I'm out. Burn the place down. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I finished was Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. I finally finished it and it was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed the second book, like just as much as the first one. I thought the new characters were really interesting. I thought learning about them was super fun to get to see into the minds of the other characters from the first book. It was just super good. It was a great continuation to the story. Had like a different main story, but there's definitely some overarching elements from the last one. The first one is called The Diviners. It's about a group of people who have these like special abilities, and we follow Evie O'Neill specifically in the first one. And she has the ability to like hold objects and find deep dark secrets about people through them, and she ends up going to New York to live with her uncle, who is like the museum curator of this like occult horror museum, and she ends up helping him try and solve a murder. So pretty darn fantastic if you ask me. I really liked Ling. I thought her character was really fun. It was just so interesting to read about her life during the 1920s and how, you know, the Chinese were treated and stuff like that, especially because of what happens in this book is very reminiscent to some things that have happened around here lately, like in our world. It was really interesting and eye-opening. I thought Henry was a sweetheart. I also really liked Sam in this book. There's like a fake dating trope that has to do with him in this book, which was fantastically done, and it was hilarious. I laughed out loud so many times while listening to this. I'm already on book 3. I've started it. It is also fantastic. It's following probably my favorite character, which is Theta. So yeah, I am thriving. That's what I'm getting at. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic. It was definitely fast-paced, action-packed. Loved it. Okay, next up, I read Uzumaki by Junji Ito. I have really mixed feelings about this one, to be fair. So Uzumaki is about this small town in Japan that's kind of secluded from everywhere else, and this town has recently become cursed by spirals, like the spiral pattern, and it is making people go crazy, and people are obsessed with this pattern, and then they end up going insane, and weird stuff just starts to happen. We follow our main character, Kirei, who kind of just like goes through the motions with everything that's happening, even though she's like seen some stuff. Like, she literally doesn't seem to care sometimes. And eventually she wants to find out the mystery of the spirals and try and save her town. And it just, it's a wild ride. I definitely didn't enjoy this one as much as another one I read this month of his. And I think it had to do with the fact that our main character just didn't seem to care about literally anything. Like, she would see things and be like, huh, that's weird. Wouldn't tell anybody about it, wouldn't talk to the police. She would just be like, oh well. I'm like, woman, go find someone. I thought she was really blasé about the whole thing, and it really annoyed me because if this had been a normal person, they would have been leaving town or trying to help people or, you know, getting help from outside sources. I really enjoyed the first half of this book. I loved all the short stories that kind of had to do with the spirals, essentially, and people, like, meeting them and interacting with spirals. But then the second half of the book took a really weird turn to the point where I just didn't care anymore. I was kind of like, okay, what is happening? And then it just ended so abruptly with no explanation, so that was really frustrating to me. The artwork is phenomenal. It's got some very iconic images in it, and Junji Ito is a very good storyteller. He's a very good artist, but for some reason this one just didn't click as much as some of his others have for me. I ended up giving this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was okay. It was okay. I'm still gonna watch the anime when it comes out though, you better believe it. So the next one I finished was The Gilded Wolves by Roshani. I read this with my friend, and I have really mixed feelings about this one. This follows our main group of characters, who is like this ragtag team of thieves. They steal historical artifacts in order to get closer to joining the Order of Babel, which our main character has essentially been kicked out of, and they're trying desperately to get back in. And some of the other characters have other motives as well to getting in, or finding other treasures that have to do with their past as well. And it's kind of like an alternate history fantasy. There's foraging magic, which is like objects that have magical properties to them, or even like some people have some sort of magical affinity. The reason I have such mixed feelings is because I really liked the characters and I liked the setting, but the plot was just so basic and lackluster. I would say that my favorite character was definitely between Zofia, and I really did enjoy Enrique. I thought he was really funny. I liked Zofia because I definitely think she's got like mild Asperger's or something. I don't really know, it's never really specifically mentioned, but the way that she's written and how things kind of just set her off kind of remind me of that. And I'm curious to see where this goes in the next books, but I don't know if I'm curious enough. And here's why. Again, the plot was super basic. Like, things happened, they stole artifacts, they found things, they discovered things, there's a secret organization trying to kill them. Very basic. And while that can be good, I feel like it wasn't executed very well. And again, here's the reason why. You know how sometimes like you're writing a document and you skip words because your brain's thinking faster than you're typing or something? That was the vibes I was getting, because honestly, I felt like there were so many parts that were completely missing. Like I had to go back and look because I missed something, but it literally wasn't there. There was a point in this book where one of the characters gets captured, essentially. It never explained that he was also then taken with the bad guys after they found him. Like, it was just some of those things and just things left out. And I feel like some of the descriptions of the buildings and the places these characters were just were not very well described. And I was so confused as to where people were and how they were placed, where they were going, and I feel like they were just left out. Like those details were just left out, and it made me extremely confused. So I don't know, I have very mixed feelings about this. I don't know if I'm gonna continue on. I haven't quite decided, and it also just, to me, this wasn't 100% what I wanted, so I don't know. Let me know if you've read the series and if it gets better, because when things are missing really bothers me and I hate it. I ended up giving this like a 3.75, maybe a 4, depending on what we're talking about. Again, I have very mixed feelings and I don't know how to rate this. And the final book that I finished completely was Tomie. Well, that's backwards. Japanese books, am I right? Tomie by Junji Ito. I loved this so much. This was probably my favorite book of the month. I have a weird love for Tomie. I think she's fascinating. I think she's a great character. She's definitely messed up, but that's what makes her her. So Tomie is about a girl named Tomie who is more than meets the eye, and weird stuff just seems to surround her and happen with her, and it's not great. This is one of those books I feel like you have to go in not knowing a whole lot, because just for the pure shock value of it all, because I watched the anime of this first and I was shocked. I had to watch it twice because I was so confused. My husband did explain it to me, so once I knew, I was like, okay, now I have to watch this again and look for this, you know, watch for the cues, essentially. This is one of his most iconic works, I believe. This and Uzumaki are like his most famous, and there's a reason why. This is very scary, I will say that. This is very dark, very twisted, very gory. If you have a problem with blood and gory imagery and just nastiness, please don't read this, because this has a lot to do with dismemberment. But I really enjoyed it. What a sentence to start after saying dismemberment. But I really enjoyed it. I loved the artwork. I loved the story. All the characters were so weird and you cared for them all in a weird way. And then there was Tomie, the queen. She is messed up. She's very vain. She's very full of herself, but then uses that for bad reasons. Again, I can't say much. I just recommend it. I will say, aside from the gore warning, there is a trigger warning for like suicide, so just bear that in mind. I own this one. I love it. I will probably read it again and again. This is like the perfect Halloween read, so this is definitely going to be one I read more than once. And finally, I did not finish this, unfortunately. We are here again, Wings of Shadows. I'm going to finish it in October. You better believe it. That is all I will say. So here are some of the books I finished in September. I had a really good reading month, and I really enjoyed most of the things I read, so I think that's pretty darn good. Considering the last few months I've barely read anything. Tell you what, fall hits, fall and winter, and I am a reading machine. Summer hits, I get my seasonal depression because I hate being hot. I love winter, fall. The more the better. Wish I could live in a place that's perpetually fall. That would be great. Let me know down below what you read in September, which one was your favorite, of course. And if you haven't subscribed, totally do. It's a great time here. We have fun. I don't know what I'm saying, obviously. And if you want, you can give this video a thumbs up. Totes up to you. And I will see you very, very soon in my next video. Bye-bye!